Welcome, everyone, to the premiere of the Patel and Kumar show. I am Shibam Patel, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And I'm my co-host, Vinod, coming to you from Mumbai. Vinod, I'm excited.
Well, good evening, Mr. Patel. Actually, good morning to you. And of course, you're live from San Antonio, Texas. I wish I was there with you right now doing the show from the United States. But I'm live here from Mumbai, and we have a very exciting show here for you. And I'm so proud to be a part of this Patel and Kumar NBA talk show, India's first YouTube NBA talk show. Mr. Patel, what do you have for me about the NBA restart?
So yes, Vinod, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the title contenders in the East and West, our MVP candidates, which is going to be very intense, and then the eighth seed in the West. And then we have a special India Tadka segment for you. But before we get started, let me just quickly explain the format of the bubble. So there's going to be 22 teams, including my San Antonio Spurs, which I'm pretty excited about. And they're going to be playing 8 seeding games starting tonight in the U.S. and tomorrow early in the morning in India. And that's going to be for playoff seeding. But then for the 8th seed in each conference in the East and West, there will also be a play-in tournament. But then the format of the playoffs and the finals are going to look the same.
Well, I am too excited because I waited for 4 months with bated breath to watch some live basketball action. I know the scrimmages also were okay, but just the games that matter is the most important. So let's go on to our topic and discuss who's going to be the top team from the East.
So for my top team, it's not. I'm kind of going out on a limb, and I'm going to pick the Toronto Raptors because first of all, they have the best, second best record in the Eastern Conference and third best record in the NBA at 46-18, and no one saw this coming. But they've been led by Pascal Siakam, who's really been taking a step forward this year, averaging 23 points per game. And he's the one he's the go-to option for the Raptors, and he's the one that's going to be leading this team. And I think he's ready. He's been waiting in the wings too long, with Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry there. Now it's his time, and I think he's ready. They're the second. They're second in defensive efficiency. They play both sides of the floor. They're very deep and talented. They have a great, starting lineup. Great bench players in Norman Powell and Marc Gasol, excuse me. And I think this Raptors team is primed for a long title run. So, Vinod, what do you think?
I think you are out of your mind. Because if the Toronto Raptors even win the East Finals, I'm going to give a big parade in Toronto. That's for sure. Nobody can beat the Bucks in the East. They're fully loaded, and Giannis is playing like the reigning MVP. And there's no stopping this big man. I know it's a very talented team. It's a deep roster for the Toronto Raptors. But they have 6 players who are probably in double digits. Pascal Siakam is playing probably the best basketball of his life. But who's going to stop the big man? Giannis. He's averaging almost 30 points a game, 14 rebounds a game, and he's only playing 30 minutes. And for him, these 8 games of the regular season for the Bucks are going to be like a scrimmage because they're almost guaranteed to be the top team from the East. Whereas for the Toronto Raptors, they got to be very careful about Boston Celtics. Now, Boston Celtics is just 3 games behind Toronto because if Toronto Raptors lose their second seed, it's going to be a very tough road for them in terms of the playoffs. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks is, as far as the standings are concerned right now, they're going to probably have Orlando Magic in the first round. They're probably going to have maybe the Heat or Pacers in the second round. And, so those 2 rounds are going to be pretty easy for them. So I'm looking at maybe a 4-1 against, a team like Heat or the Pacers for the Bucks. So they're going to get plenty of rest. They're going to have a lot of restricted minutes for Giannis. He can take the rest. And, it's no problem. So it all boils down to the finals. Yes, Toronto got it done last season, but there was a big difference. There was Leonard in last year's Toronto Raptors lineup, and this season, no Leonard, but they're playing a good game. I give you that, but I think it's going to be very difficult for the Raptors to come out of the East.
Well, Vinod, you're going with a safe pick, and I believe in this Toronto Raptors team. You did mention, and you're right, they do have the hardest schedule coming from the restart, but they're ready for the challenge. And Nick Nurse has even said that, this team, it feels like they have something to prove. Multiple players have said they felt, slighted, that Kawhi Leonard just left them after winning the title. These players want to prove that they can win without Kawhi Leonard, and they're a great team. And, Nick Nurse I think he's a difference. He's a better coach than Coach Bud, because last year, he changed it up a little bit, and he went with the pack line defense and built a wall, which Giannis couldn't, go through, and he couldn't get to the paint, and he was less effective. And Giannis, had a hard time trusting his teammates, and when he did pass to his teammates, they were missing shots. So I think the Raptors are going to make the others of the Bucks beat them, and not Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I really do trust Nick Nurse. I think he has something up his sleeve. He's the Coach of the Year favorite, and I don't think the Bucks know what's coming. I think this year Toronto was hungry to win a championship and prove themselves.
Well, we ran a poll on our Instagram. People love us that poll, and look at that result. Our pollster said that 67% of them picked the Bucks, because that's the same choice, not the safe choice, Mr. Patel.
Well, the Raptors are going to shock everyone, shock the world, make it to the finals. Who knows if they're going to win the championship or not? But at least they're going to be coming out of the East. This year with the bubble, you never know what's going to happen. Chaos might happen, and I think the Raptors are going to get in the mix and really put a wrench in this playoffs and make the NBA finals.
Well, as I told you, if the Toronto Raptors win, I'm going to give a big party. I'm going to have probably, since I can't travel to Toronto right now, I'll probably give a parade in Mumbai for the Toronto Raptors.
I look forward to seeing that, because that's definitely going to happen. So the audience wants to see it also. So can't wait.
I hope so. But I think, it's going to take, Giannis has changed his game a little bit. He's improved from where he was last season. Of course, the Raptors were able to, push him in terms of taking that outside shot. And, but he's improved his shooting this year. He's shooting almost 35% from the three-point line, and he's taking a lot of shots from outside the D as well. And he's improved in that space. So I think it would be a very big risk for the Toronto Raptors if they force him to shoot from outside. And of course, Middleton is also playing an all-star level basketball game. And I just hope that Eric Bledsoe is fit and fine after he tested positive for COVID. He's back in the lineup. They have, again, these 8 games are going to be like practice games for the Bucks. So they have a lot of time to get back onto, full potential. So let's hope, for my sake, it's the Bucks. And as I said, if Toronto Raptors win, there's going to be a big party.
And I think you're forgetting also about, Kyle Lowry. This guy has been like a multiple-time All-Star. He finally, he's had a reputation of choking in the playoffs. But last year, he did come up big. Marc Gasol, who's a hardy veteran. Serge Ibaka, who's been, been on successful teams with the Thunder, and Fred VanVleet. He couldn't miss a shot last year after the birth of his second child. So I think these guys are primed. If Pascal Siakam does struggle a little bit, they have enough role players around them to be able to carry the Raptors. And I think their depth is going to make a difference in their coaching. And I look forward to seeing this Toronto Raptors team get out of the Eastern Conference and beat the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, so it's Raptors for you and Bucks for me. So let's now move on to the West, which is probably more competitive than the East, I would say. So what's your choice between the LA Lakers and the LA Clippers? I'm sure the whole world is waiting to see the LA Lakers play the LA Clippers tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be the marquee matchup opening night. But I'm going with the LA Clippers, LA's second team, the basement in Staples Center. The LA Clippers are going to come through and beat the Lakers. I know, you may be calling me crazy. The team that has never advanced past the second round. The team that's never won an NBA championship in their franchise history. They've been mediocre at best, terrible. But this year, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, 2 bona fide superstars, top 10 players in the NBA, together they're 24-8, and they've been outscoring their opponent by 8 points per game. I think this Clippers team is deep. They have the starting lineup. They got the bench with Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Landry Shamet. I think this Clippers team is just going to be is very talented, and I think they're very motivated and want to prove that they are LA's team and that there's a reason why many pegged them before the year to win the NBA championship.
Well, if you say so, my friend Mr. Patel, and again, I think you are wrong because I picked the LA Lakers to come out of the West. And, the only reason is just before the break, they were a fantastic team. They were getting into rhythm. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat the LA Clippers. And, we took a break for the coronavirus, but looking at the scrimmages, your Kawhi Leonard is shooting just 27% from the field in the scrimmage, and he's shooting 22% from the three-point line. So and the other part is that they don't have Lou Williams, they don't have Montrezl Harrell, they didn't have Landry Shamet or even Zubac was absent for a long period of time. He did come back for the last scrimmage game. Patrick Beverley, we don't know when he's going to come back. So it's going to be the same story for the Clippers, where at the beginning of the season, they didn't have their full roster. They didn't have Paul George the first 22 games. They played with a full roster for only 11 games in the season. I give you that they are 10-1 in that in the games where they had the full roster, and the only loss was against the LA Lakers just before the break. But I'm telling you, the King is a born leader. He is leading this team just like he needs to. There was a lot of turmoil in the Lakers organization. It's a new roster, it's a new coach, it's a new system, but it just doesn't feel like, it's a new team. They're playing like as if they've been playing with each other for a very, very long time. So I think it's going to be the LA Lakers from the West. I would really love to see a 7-game series between the LA Lakers and the Clippers. But let me tell you, the Clippers are just about 3 games ahead of the other seeded players, right from Houston Rockets, who are in 6th position, to I think Denver, who's in the 3rd rank. So they have to take even these 8 regular season games pretty seriously, because if they do not and they drop in their seeding, it could be a very tough road. They could probably meet the Rockets in the 2nd round, and I don't think it's going to be an easy thing for the Clippers to just overcome the Rockets. But I do pick the Clippers to beat the Rockets, but it's going to be a difficult situation for them. But if they maintain the 2nd seed, then definitely we're going to see a Lakers and Clippers Western Conference Finals.
And you could book that, because I think the Clippers are going to stay in the 2nd seed. And the ratings of the NBA are just going to completely skyrocket, and it's going to be just so exciting. We can't wait. It's definitely going to go 7 games that the Lakers and Clippers play. But I think, Vinod, you're putting too much stock into the scrimmage game with Leonard only shooting 22%. Kawhi Leonard has always been that guy that's never really taken the regular season seriously. He's just been all about the playoffs, and I think he's going to be ready. But the role players, they need to be ready. Lou Williams, he can't have any more mess ups like going to the gentleman's club, when he was supposed to be in the bubble. These guys need to be focused and ready to play and ready to hit the ground running in the playoffs, because this is something that we've never seen before, and this is an unprecedented situation. And, speaking of the, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, 2 superstars that the Lakers have, the Clippers have multiple defenders that they can throw at them. They have Kawhi Leonard, one of the best defenders in the NBA. Paul George, very long and athletic. Patrick Beverley, who's just a pit bull. Montrezl Harrell and Ivica Zubac, who can hold themselves in the paint. And Marcus Morris, who's a 3-and-D player. So I think the Clippers are going to wear down Anthony Davis and LeBron James because of the amount of bodies that they can throw at them, and the unpredictability of Doc Rivers, who's a master at the X's and O's. The way that he was with the Celtics. So I think the Clippers have a lot of things going for them. They need to take this seriously. They need to be focused. And I think they need to get their team chemistry a little bit straightened up. I think that's the only thing that's really holding them back from beating the Lakers.
Well, once again, let's see what the pollsters think. The audience poll, of course,
Oh,
makes a huge difference. And once again, you are wrong, Mr. Patel.
oh, man, no.
82%, 82% of the people think that the LA Lakers is going to win from the West. So I think I would give you a little bit of chance in the East because it was 67 and 33 in favor of the Bucks. But in the West, most people think it's going to be the Lakers. I think it's a very simple answer, right?
Well, the Lakers are the trendy pick. They're the big brand. They've had multiple 17 championships, I believe. Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, now LeBron James. Clippers have been just terrible. Kawhi Leonard is not as flashy as LeBron and AD. He's more just strict to business. But I think the Clippers are going to come out on top, and I just wait to see, Vinod. It's going to happen.
Come on. It's not going to happen.
What are you going to do with the Clippers? What are you going to do with the Clippers come out of the West, Vinod?
I'll be extremely sad, and I'll stop watching the NBA from that day forward for this season for sure.
No.
Because, but I mean, I'm a big fan of the King, and I really want to see the King because I really want him to win another championship. Because if he wins another championship, I think he's up there in the Mount Rushmore. He's at the top of the Mount Rushmore. And, and the comparisons with Michael Jordan is just going to end right there if he wins a championship this season. And what I'm trying to tell you is that he is locked and loaded for the rest of the season. And he's showing his leadership by, bringing together the entire roster. The only problem, as I told you, the only problem with the Clippers is how well Doc Rivers is going to manage his players. So I think more than Leonard or Paul George, Doc Rivers is going to be the star for the Clippers because he needs to bring this team together. Lou Williams, I don't know. He wanted probably a different kind of bubble.
No, yeah, and there was some, they've had some chemistry issues throughout the season. There was, complaints about, the role players felt like the management was giving preferential treatment to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard regarding their load management while they were busting their butt and playing. So I think this team needs to come together as a unit. I think they need to have one goal in mind is winning a championship, and everyone needs to really accept their roles. Like Lou Williams, he needs to accept being a sixth man. So as Montrezl Harrell. I know he's trying to get a big contract, but the way he'll be able to do that is being a great six-man energy guy that can impact the game off the bench. So I think that's the biggest thing holding the Clippers back. But Clippers have enough, firepower that if the role players are lacking a little bit, that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George can both carry this team until the role players are ready to be able to step up to the plate.
Well, I would give you that on paper, they look the best team. They have the deepest bench. They have probably much better players than the LA Lakers. They signed with Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris just before the break. They signed up with Joakim Noah now for the rest of the season. So I think, yes, the roster looks pretty solid. But I don't know when the full roster is going to play. Is it going to be in the playoffs or is it going to be in the regular season? Because I do think that they need to play together for at least some time. Because the problem they had at the start of the season was, they didn't play together. They had only 11 games with the full roster.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope that, Lakers, apart from LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are going to be very consistent day in and day out, I think it's going to boil down to the supporting cast.
Yeah.
How well is Kyle Kuzma going to play? How well is KCP going to play? Because he's going to start in place of Avery Bradley. Mm-hmm. And they don't even have a veteran presence in Rajon Rondo. Because he had a deep playoff experience. He would have been very handy in terms of when come playoffs. But again, you have two players who have probably never played basketball for almost a whole year, and that's J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters. I know they were extremely good in the scrimmage, but again, as you told, scrimmage is a scrimmage, right? When the regular season starts, I would really like to see them shine. So I think there's going to be, you need at least 3 more players from the Lakers roster to score 15 points apiece if they really need to go deep.
And you just nailed it on the head. Who do you trust on the Lakers besides Anthony Davis and LeBron? And I think that's going to be the difference. And also a big thing for the Clippers is that this hiatus allowed them to finally get healthy. You know, Kawhi Leonard was dealing with bruises as well as Paul George throughout the season. And the hiatus came at a perfect time, just as the doctor ordered, because the last game, the Clippers lost to the Lakers, and they were kind of reeling a little bit. So this time allowed them to not only get healthy, but to, kind of figure out some schemes, different areas that they can, improve on. And I think that everyone's going to be completely healthy and 100% and locked in and geared for a title run. And Kawhi Leonard is determined, and he will be the new king of LA. Crown him now.
No, he's miles away. He is miles away. He is playing in the Staples Center, which is already the King's Palace. Okay.
Well, the King didn't make the playoffs last year. I know he got injured, but Kawhi Leonard won a championship, and the King, missed the playoffs. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's hope so. I mean, but yeah. I mean, for me, it's 51-49, 51 towards Lakers, 49 towards Clippers, but a slight edge for the Lakers for me.
And just one thing, these teams are very even, and they're forming a little rivalry too. So I think everybody wants to see what's going to happen. And it's a bummer that it's not going to be at the Staples Center, because LA, is going to be like a rivalry and kind of divided to see who is going to win. But we're still excited. We're glad that the Clippers are relevant, and they're going to be great competition, to the Lakers. And I can't wait. Get your popcorn ready, Vinod. Lakers, Clippers.
Well, I'm going to have my coffee ready because it's an early morning game, so I won't be having any popcorn. But let's move on. Let's move on with the show, and let's get on to the hottest topic, and that is who's going to be the MVP, and it's going to be the King.
Oh, man. No. The 2019-2020 regular season MVP is going to be the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because first of all, he's been the best player on the best team. The Bucks have been dominant all season. Giannis has been the best player in the NBA, leading his team in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. He's just been dominant on both sides of the floor. He can just get to the paint at will. He has a lot of power. I've really been impressed by his shooting and taking more shots. He's even has a little fadeaway Kobe-esque shot in the paint. And I think if he develops that, he'll just be unstoppable. And Giannis has just been a little bit more consistent. His team has been a lot better, and I think he has more responsibility, for the on the Bucks, because the Bucks really need him to win. I know these role players are great, but they would really be nothing without Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it's just amazing that he's been able to build off an MVP caliber season last year, or winning season last year, to now playing even better. And he's going to win his second straight MVP, and I don't think it's even close.
I give you that he is the best player in the league today, but is he the most valuable player? Because the whole definition of valuable is totally different. It's not just scoring points. It's just not catching rebounds. It's not just doing assists. I feel the whole definition of valuable is totally different. This LA Lakers team at the beginning of the season was in a big turmoil. Magic Johnson left at the end of the last season. They had a new GM, Vice President of Operations. They got in Anthony Davis. They had to fill up their whole roster. They were waiting for Leonard to probably sign with the Lakers, and he ditched them at the last minute, and they had to scurry. I mean, they had to just fill up their rosters with probably minimum contract like DeMarcus Cousins and JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo. But what he did, I mean, since the start of the season, he has glued this team together. And he's been the top performer. He's averaging almost 27 points a game. He's almost averaging triple-double. He's averaging almost 11 assists and I think almost 8 rebounds. And year 17, age 35, Scottie Pippen said in a recent comment that, he was at the end of his career at age 35. He was almost about to retire. Magic Johnson has picked LeBron James to win the MVP. So I think I'm going to go with somebody like a Magic Johnson who says that if LeBron is going to win the MVP, I'm going to pick LeBron James, and there's no doubt about it. I know that Giannis is going to win the MVP, but in my opinion, it was LeBron James. I know because I mean, let me tell you. I mean, the media has been going at it about LeBron James for the last 10 years. They always told that he's playing in the East. It's the Leastern conference, not even the Eastern conference. And he was shining there. He came to the finals 8 times, and I mean, they just criticize him. And now look at his comments he made the other day. He said, now I've come into the West and I've got the Lakers as the top team in the West. I don't know what else I need to prove to the critics. And I think just hand over a special prize, the King, the King Trophy or something, because he should have won more than 4 MVPs for sure.
And don't get me wrong, LeBron has been amazing at age 35, playing at a historic level. I think this is one of the best years of his career. And it's hard because Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's been averaging more points on his team, but for the Lakers, Anthony Davis has the most points. But Giannis' stat line has been incredible, averaging 27 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 5 assists, almost a triple-double, and shooting 50% from the field. But Vinod, Giannis does not have an Anthony Davis, who's a bona fide superstar and top 5 player in the NBA. Chris Middleton is good, but he's not on the same level as Anthony Davis. So Giannis, I think, has more responsibility on a nightly basis, and he impacts winning more on both sides. And I think that you had to just give it to, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. I mean, he has a sidekick in Anthony Davis. But I also tell you, he makes Anthony Davis more effective. He's made him a better player than what he was with the New Orleans. And I mean, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of motivation for somebody who's a leader. And that's the reason I'm telling you that somebody like LeBron James is more valuable. That's the whole definition of valuable, making your teammates perform better. And and that he's done that with a record of 49-14 in the West. And it's not the Leastern Conference anymore. It's the better conference.
Whoa. We were just talking about in the Eastern Conference, they have the Raptors, the Celtics. Even the Heat look pretty good. They're a dark horse team. Maybe the Pacers, you could throw them in there. But Giannis has made Chris Middleton better. Chris Middleton's been averaging career highs this year. And I think he's been empowering Chris Middleton and his teammates that, hey, when I'm not here, you guys can be effective. And I think he's been encouraging them and strengthening his teammates, which is really important because he's definitely going to need them in the playoffs. Because as you said earlier, it is about the superstars, but it's also about the role players that need to step up to win a championship.
Well, I mean, as I told you, they're going to give the MVP to Giannis, but the actual MVP is the King.
I'll give you this though, Vinod. LeBron was playing just incredible before this hiatus. He had a great game against the Bucks in LA. He finally beat the Clippers. And if the season didn't stop, I think LeBron James would have been your 2019-2020 MVP because it's all about the storyline. At age 35 to be playing at this level. And at that time, Giannis was dealing with a little bit of knee issues and his play was a little bit declining. So I think Giannis is kind of lucky that the season was stopped. But now the voting is already in before the seeding games even happened. So I think the media members have no choice to give the MVP to Giannis. But I think LeBron, I think it would have been much closer if the season had resumed as normal.
As you can see, it's not even close, according to our posters on Instagram. Thank you very much, everybody who voted for it. 65% say it's LeBron James. And as I told you, I mean, it's not an easy choice. I'll give you that. I mean, if at all, I mean, the NBA really needs to do something about this. This is almost like a split vote. And it'll go a great way if they can hand over 2 MVPs for the season,
Co-MVPs. Oh, that would be pretty cool. But hey, both are very deserving. I think both, but I think the real treat would be, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the NBA would love it to see Giannis against LeBron in the finals to see who is going to take the mantle as the best player in the NBA.
Well, the regular season starts tomorrow, and we can get to see Giannis in action tomorrow, as well as LeBron, the King James against the Clippers. So I'm just excited, man. I'm just excited. The only thing is, I have to change my schedule now because the whole lockdown, I used to wake up at 10 in the morning, and now I got to wake up at like 5 in the morning to watch these games. So it's going to be a different cycle for me now.
But I know you are, Vinod. You're gonna have your coffee ready. You're a hardcore sports fan, so no matter if it was at 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, or whatever, at 4 in the morning, you're gonna be waking up to watch these games. And I would do the same, if I was in India. But luckily for the U.S., it's evening time. It's regular prime time. So I guess I got pretty lucky here.
Yeah, I gotta be slow on my whiskeys in the night and be heavy on my coffees in the morning. I mean that's gonna be a difficult part.
That sounds good, man. That sounds good. I can't wait. We got two great matchups. Starting with the appetizer, the Jazz against the Pelicans. The audience is going to be able to see Zion Williamson again, who only appeared in 19 games, but who is becoming one of the faces of the NBA, to see how the Pelicans are going to be in their push for the playoffs. And then the marquee matchup that everyone's been waiting for, Lakers Clippers, and the Clippers beat the Lakers twice, and the Lakers ended up beating the Clippers in March.
Well, let's hope so. Let's move on, and let's move on to our topic from the West. Is who's going to be the eighth seed? I mean, that's a difficult choice. Of course, they have a play-in tournament as well for the eighth seed. So, I mean, I think that's more exciting. At least in the regular season, you're going to see some tough fight for the eighth seed in the West.
We are, and I'm going to go with the team that I feel has been disrespected and is not getting enough love from the media, the Memphis Grizzlies. They're going to be the eighth seed in the West because, first of all, they've held down that spot all year. They've been the most consistent team vying for that spot, and they're led by sensational rookie Ja Morant, who's just taken the NBA by storm with his viral highlights of, postering Aaron Baines, blocking Kyrie Irving, and almost postering Kevin Love. And John Morant has just insane quickness and change of speed ability. And for a rookie, being only 20 years old, he has a great feel for the game. He's been a great leader for the Grizzlies. He's a great general, and he is the Rookie of the Year favorite, and he is going to win the Rookie of the Year. And Vinod, let me just tell you how our friend, Coach Taylor Jenkins, he's been doing just an incredible job this year. The Grizzlies were projected to finish last in the Western Conference, but he's come in, really empowered this young team, really had a defensive first approach and pace and space. And the Grizzlies, he's my Coach of the Year. I would choose him to win the Coach of the Year award. And I think the Grizzlies are just going to continue to go up, and I think they're going to be locking that eighth seed in the West.
Well, you talked about Coach Taylor Jenkins, so we were very fortunate enough to have a message from him right from inside the bubble. So I think let's play that message, and we'll come and comment back on it.
Check it out.
Hello, namaste, Indian basketball fans. I'm Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, coming to you live from the NBA bubble in Orlando, Florida. Today, I'm joining all of you on this premiere episode of Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show. So let's get started. Couple of questions I've gotten. For a poll question, who will be the eighth seed in the West? Got an easy answer for you all. It's my Memphis Grizzlies. Another question, how hopeful am I of the Grizzlies' chances to make the playoffs? I've got the utmost confidence that our guys are going to hold on to the eighth seed. We do know that we have a challenging schedule ahead of us, but this group has risen to the occasion all season long. They compete at a very high level. We're a very together group. And there's no challenge out there that these guys can't master. So excited about the challenge ahead, but I've got the utmost faith that these guys are going to make it to the playoffs. Another question, considering that the players are now in a bubble, how are we all coping with this new lifestyle, and how easy or tough has it been to make adjustments? We've definitely had to make adjustments. There's a new way of working. There's a new way of living. Basketball has given us a renewed energy to be back with our teammates and our colleagues on the floor, doing what we love every single day. But then outside of basketball, in a new environment, we've had to adapt, spending a lot more time with our teammates and our colleagues, whether it's over a meal, going out and fishing, going out to the golf course, hanging by the pool, playing cards or just having fun conversations. It's been a blessing to get back together during these times, and it's very exciting to know that we've got basketball ahead of us and we're doing this together. Lastly, Memphis, we're obviously playing some tough teams. It's going to make a tough road for us, but what would be my comments on the schedule is simply bring it on. We're ready for this opportunity. Got the utmost faith in our team. We've done a great job so far this season. The job's not done. Got a great goal. It's time to make that push for the playoffs. So in closing, I would like everyone to enjoy the show and make sure to subscribe and tune into the Patel and Kumar episodes. Go Grizzlies.
Well, that was pretty interesting to get NBA head coach to speak to us, and thank you very much, Coach Taylor Jenkins, and wish you the best. And as Mr. Patel just said here before, I would pick the Memphis Grizzlies as well. They've been playing some good team game. They've been led by their rookie Ja Morant. We should just call this team Jrizzlies because there's like 5 people. I mean, in the top 5 whose names actually start with the letter J. There's Ja Morant, there is Jared Jackson, Jonas Valanciunas, Jay Crowder. So it's like the J team. It's the. but yeah, they're sitting a little bit pretty with 3.5 games. In front of the Trailblazers, and of course the Trailblazers, Pelicans, and Kings. Are tied in terms of the record. And then there's probably an outside chance for your San Antonio Spurs. I'm sorry about that, but I think this is probably one of those seasons where after a long time you won't be seeing Greg Popovich in the playoffs. So as I said, the play-in tournament, yes, it's going to be between the 8th ranked and the 9th ranked team. I would still probably pick the Trailblazers over the New Orleans Pelicans, just because they have Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum. They're getting back their other 2 stars in Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins. And they have a great experience in playing deep in the playoffs. They were in the Western Conference Finals, so they do have that experience. And New Orleans Pelicans, for them, they've just played like two playoff, series in the past 7 or 8 years. So, so Grizzlies, my top pick from the West, 8th seed. They played probably the Trailblazers as the 9th seed.
And I would first like to start off by thanking Coach Jenkins, for answering the questions in the video. And I think the Grizzlies are going to be healthy. They've had a lot of mixed lineups, with Jaren Jackson Jr. being out, Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, but now they're finally healthy. The team chemistry is already pretty strong. But Vinod, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on the play-in tournament. I think the Grizzlies are going to be the 8th seed for sure, but I think it's going to be the New Orleans Pelicans as the 9th seed. Because, for the Blazers, even though, like you said, they are going to be getting their stars back in Nurkic and Collins, and Dame Lillard is a cold-blooded assassin, hitting the game-winning shot in 2014 in the playoffs against the Rockets and last year against the Thunder, and CJ McCollum's a great scorer. But I don't think you can just flip that switch. And the Blazers have underachieved all season, and I think they're just going just to play. I don't think they're going to make it to the play-in tournament. But the New Orleans Pelicans, they started the season 6-33. Zion Williamson did come back for 19 games. They looked pretty good. They had a winning record with him on the floor. They were playing together as a unit. Brandon Ingram has had a resurgence of a season. He his first time All-Star. Lonzo Ball has been playing a lot better, and I think this New Orleans Pelicans team has a lot of talent, and I think their talent's going to take them a long way. And Alvin Gentry is a pretty good coach, so I think he's going to lead them to the play-in tournament. They're going to play the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies are going to be coming up on top and playing the Lakers in the first round of the NBA playoffs.
Well, again, we're just trying to make this show as interactive as possible. So we ran a few polls just before as a run-up to the live premiere, and we just asked the audience in terms of who's going to probably be the 8th seed from the West. And of course, most people think it's going to be the Grizzlies, but they are giving a chance to the Spurs. Let me tell you, that there is a But I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult with these 8 games. Memphis Grizzlies is playing Portland. They're playing San Antonio and New Orleans to start with. Again, these are the ninth, 11th, and 10th ranked teams. But after that, they have a pretty tough schedule, I would say. I mean, the only thing that could stop the Grizzlies from coming into the playoffs is the schedule in terms of they're playing Utah, they're playing the Thunder, they're playing the Toronto, they're playing Boston, and they're playing Milwaukee. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of tough teams out there. I think they need to win at least 4 games out of these 8 to, be comfortable in the 8th position. So, yeah, I mean, it boils down to what Coach Taylor's strategy is going to be. Let's hope for the best for Coach Taylor. He's been part of a lot of webinars for us interacting with the Indian coaches. So I would really like to see him be in the playoffs. But let me tell you, I'm not going to be supporting the Memphis Grizzlies when they're playing the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, first of all, I'm finally happy that me and you can agree, and the poll, we finally agree on the poll questions also. And the Spurs are getting some love, but it's going to be tough in order to keep that playoff streak alive. But the NBA is doing whatever they can to try to get the Pelicans in the playoffs, giving them the easiest schedule. Their schedule is a joke, Vinod, and the Grizzlies do have the hardest schedule, but what maybe can help them is at the end, they do play the Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, and Milwaukee Bucks. And hopefully for the Grizzlies, those teams will already have clinched a playoff spot so that maybe, those teams will take it easy a little bit, not play their starters as many minutes. So maybe those games can be wins for the Grizzlies. But as Coach Jenkins said, they're ready for the challenge. I think they're going to go conquer it and go Grizz.
Go Grizz for me as well, Patel. And yeah, we agreed on something at the end, didn't we?
Finally, it only took the last NBA topic for us to agree.
Okay, I mean, I think let's move on. And as part of the NBA talk show and the Indian connection, we came out with an idea of trying to have a segment that concentrates on the news from India. And that's why we bring you our segment on this NBA talk, Patel and Kumar NBA talk show called Indian Tadka. Well, Shivam and the audience, welcome to the Indian Tadka, where we're going to mix up some nice spices and probably give you a nice flavor. But to start with, we had a pretty awesome event last year with the NBA India games for the first time ever. We had Indiana Pacers playing the Sacramento Kings, a 2-game in Mumbai. But I think it's going to be a very unfortunate situation this year with probably I don't think the NBA India games is going to happen because, of course, the season probably gets over the first week of October, and they're planning to start the season again first week of December. So, and with all the pandemic happening all across the globe, I think it's going to be very difficult for the teams to travel here and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be a sad moment for Indian basketball fans who wanted to probably watch a live game. But let's move on to other hot news from India. Is that Princepal Singh has been signed by the NBA League, and it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for this young man. He's the first graduate from the NBA Academies India to get an NBA G League contract. He's going to be playing with a lot of other high school prospects. Kai Soero from Philippines, and I would also like to congratulate a Kerala girl, Anne Mary Zakaria, who got a scholarship to play in the US as well. But Princepal has been making headlines in India, Shivam.
Yes, and Vinod, I love to break down tape, and just watching Princepal Singh, it's just really impressive how much he's really improved. He only started playing basketball at the age of 14, and before then he was a volleyball player. But I think that really helped with his touch around the basket and fluidity. And he just a very has a great motor. He's pretty athletic. I think he's going to be a stretch big. He can shoot. He can play on the inside. He has a pretty good handle. He has a length. He can be a great shot blocker and dominant rebounder. So I think this is very exciting. Like you said, it's the first historic time an NBA India Academy graduate is going to be playing in the G League. I think the G League is a great program for him because, first of all, he's not only going to be able to showcase his skills, but he's going to be able to further improve and also kind of get that lifestyle as a pro on and off the court. He'll get that pro mindset, how to eat right, how to live a healthy lifestyle. And I can't wait to see him in the NBA in a couple of years.
Let's hope that he's the first Indian player to set foot on the NBA court and play some minutes. Of course, Satnam Singh got drafted a few years ago, but he didn't play in the NBA. He was also part of the Mavericks G League team. So yeah, he becomes the fourth Indian to sign with the G League, and all from Punjab. And so Punjab is like the breeding ground for basketball players in India. So let's hope for better things for Princepal. He also gets the opportunity to play with a coach like Brian Shaw, and who's been a veteran in the NBA. So it's going to be a very unique opportunity for this young man. I just hope he goes through the grind, he improves, and the sky's the limit for this young man. I really hope for the best.
And I really been hearing great stuff about his work ethic, that his dedication to the game. He always wants to be in the gym, willing to improve on his craft. And what better place to go than playing against the top American high school players, with them and against them. And I think that's really going to take his game to the next level. And it's going to be scary to see what his potential is going to be. And I don't think the U.S. knows what's coming for them. I think this guy is going to be a monster. And like I said, I can't wait for him to put on that NBA uniform and fulfill his dream of playing in the National Basketball Association.
Yeah. Well, as I said, let's hope for the best. And so let's move on to the Indian more tadka. Let's put some more tadka into this show. We have news from the NBA that Reggie Miller had a comment about Sushant Singh Rajput. Of course, Sushant Singh Rajput, may his soul rest in peace. He shot a video for his last movie, Dil Bechara, in a Reggie Miller jersey. And Reggie Miller took notice of that and said, his moves live on. So let's hope Sushant Singh Rajput's soul rest in peace.
Yes, and shout out first of all to Reggie Miller for commemorating Sushant Singh Rajput, and shout out to the followers of Ekalavyas for tagging Reggie Miller. And it's typical Reggie Miller fashion. His first comments was he stole my moves, but then he probably found out about the passing of Sushant Singh Rajput, and he said his memory and these moves will live on, gone but not forgotten. And it's just really sad because Sushant Singh was really starting to get into the hearts and minds of the basketball community and the sports community, because he played MS Dhoni in the movie MS Dhoni: The Untold Story, and he also played a basketball player in the movie Chhichhore. And I think he was going to start shining in that sports role, and he had a really bright future. It's just really sad, and may Sushant Singh Rajput rest in peace.
Well, as you mentioned. There's a lot of connections between basketball and Bollywood. Of course, there have been some good movies and some bad movies. So I think we're going to discuss a little bit about how basketball is portrayed in Bollywood. And I think let's probably discuss how, or which are the, best movies in terms of how basketball is portrayed. So, of course, once again, we had the audience tell us in terms of which movies they think had the best basketball scenes. And we picked two movies there, and that's Chhichhore, where Sushant Singh Rajput was acting, and Half Girlfriend, which was between Arjun Kapoor and Shraddha Kapoor, who were playing the protagonists there. So I think let's look at the polls and see if what the audience thinks.
And I would like to bring in my sister Ishani, a huge Bollywood fan, who's going to be talking about these movies with us. So Ishani, Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Ishani, I
Hey,
wanted to.
Shani.
Hi,
Oh, sorry, there's one.
No. Go
Sorry,
ahead. No, no.
Ishani. Well, Ishani, I mean, it's becoming a Patel and Kumar show, so I'm not going to be very happy with that. But we have to call in the resident Bollywood expert at the
Yep.
Patel residence because Shivam, I mean, we just made him binge watch some Bollywood movies in the last week. So, Ishani, what do you think? I mean, how has Bollywood influenced your life in the US?
So, yes, it's influenced my life a lot. Growing up, I've always loved watching the new Bollywood films. Of course, when I was younger, I used to only really watch the hits. But as I've gotten older, I have grown a greater appreciation. So I'll watch any of the movies that I just find interesting. But specifically with the basketball connection, I know y'all did the poll, and Chhichhore and Half Girlfriend were the ones for the best Bollywood performance or best Bollywood basketball performance. And to me, those two movies portrayed basketball in such different ways. So, in Half Girlfriend, it was used to kind of intertwine and begin the relationship between Arjun Kapoor and Shraddha. And then in Chhichhore, on the other hand, it was used as like a gripping, will they win, will they not win, for the general championship. It all came down to that. And it all came down to, of course, one final shot. So I think just watching both of those two films, basketball was portrayed so differently. For one, it was more, pyar and love. And then the other, it was more, kind of friendship and camaraderie. So I think they were both super exciting to watch and definitely some of the greatest basketball moments in Bollywood.
I'm just, very sad that you had to watch the whole Half Girlfriend movie in order to comment. But I haven't watched that movie, but I've seen Chhichhore and Sushant Singh Rajput. He was a very talented actor, very early to, leave this world. So I also feel that Chhichhore was probably, a better basketball movie.
Yes, most definitely. I agree.
And I think it was also, and I enjoyed, the last, like Ishani said, there was a lot of pressure, high stakes. They had to win that basketball game in order to win the competition. I really enjoyed, the slow motion when Sushant Singh was taking that final shot. It hung on the rim a little bit, getting the audience to guess, is it going to go in? Is it not going to go in? I really enjoyed that drama, which you don't see as much, in American movies, and that kind of slow motion.
Of course. We love drama in Bollywood, without drama, these movies don't make a lot of money in India, but as we were discussing the best basketball scenes, I think we also need to discuss, what are the worst basketball scenes in Hindi movies, or in Bollywood as they call it. So Ishani, what do you think, which was like the, worst possible basketball portrayal in Bollywood movies?
On that one, I definitely agree with the poll. I think Koi Mil Gaya was more cringy for sure. With the Jadoo, he was just giving them all of this magic and they were jumping everywhere and Hrithik Roshan was dunking every single second. There was even one scene where he dunked and then started doing pull-ups on the rim. And so, that stuff is just so funny. I think that was definitely the most cringy for sure because, it was a Space Jam kind of mix going on in there and very different for sure.
Yeah, it was like Flubber meets ET. It was like Flubber meets ET. And I also agree with you that it's one of the most funniest scenes portraying basketball. And of course, we had Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, where two of the top stars, Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, playing basketball. Of course, we had two scenes where they would also play in the beginning, and of course towards the middle where it was a sari-clad Kajol playing a suit-clad Shah Rukh Khan. It's just they could have just worn basketball uniforms, right? It was a technical foul right there.
Technical foul, man. They would not. FIBA would not allow them to Kajol to play in a sadi and SRK to play in a tie. It was also multiple violations. SRK was traveling. Kajol tripped him. There was a lot of violations. It was actually very comical. It was not very realistic at all. But I enjoyed it. It was pretty funny.
I happen to love that scene. Kajol, there she is at the summer camp wearing a sari, and the kids are first having an argument over whether or not girls can play in basketball, and that's what started the whole game at the camp. And I just really loved that part because she was in a sari, she was barefoot, and she was not afraid to challenge Shah Rukh and say, "Come on, let's play right now." So I really loved it for that part of it, and there's one part where she steals the ball from Shah Rukh and she's going up for the jump shot, but she has to fix her sari first because, it was falling everywhere. So it was just such a great movie to watch. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. And I love the way basketball was portrayed in it. It brought two old friends together and it was just amazing.
Wow, I mean, I think the director was thinking maybe it'll cause a revolution in basketball, where you see sari-clad women playing basketball on the streets of India. But that wasn't true. But but yeah, I mean, it was a really funny scene. Of course, there are far more other movies as well, but we wanted to restrict ourselves to the two best movies and the two worst movies. So yeah, I mean, thank you, Ishani. That was wonderful, and of course, thank you very much for giving us those comments. So Shivam, you got to learn from your sister and watch more Bollywood movies.
Definitely, I'm going to be watching more Bollywood movies with her. She watches them all the time, so I'm just going to be joining her to be able to learn the Bollywood scene for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ishani, for your perspective.
Well, I mean, that was a very nice segment there, and as we told the audience, we're trying to bring in any kind of connection between NBA and India, and it's a whole new segment that we're going to be bringing in every show of ours. We're going to be live every Thursday, 7 p.m. India time, and of course 8:30 a.m. Central time. So, I mean, we want to bring in the best news possible, the most exciting news possible, and nothing can be more exciting, Shivam, than the NBA restart. I'm so excited. I'm going to be probably getting to sleep in much early so that I can wake up at 4:30 and start watching these games.
Yes, these next, a couple months, I'm going to be glued to my TV. And with the NBA restart finally here, this is the only place that you have to be for the best basketball coverage. Vinod's going to be holding it down on the India side. I'm going to be doing the U.S. I would like to thank, first of all, the audience for tuning in and their comments. And I would like to thank Vinod for this great conversation. And I look forward to many, many more of these episodes.
Well, Mr. Patel, that's almost like the end of the show. So I would just like to request everyone, please connect with us on Twitter at Patel and Kumar, on Instagram. You can post comments on our YouTube, Ekalavya's YouTube channel, and of course on Facebook. So wherever you can connect, we are looking for comments, for feedback, for any pointers that you have for us. Hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed it, yes. Coming live, and it's the NBA restart, man. I'm getting goosebumps.
Me too, man. I can't wait. 5:30 U.S. time can't get here soon enough. I'm sure it's the same way for you. NBA is finally back, man. The best league in the world. We're going to just sit back, relax, and enjoy some great basketball.
So thank you, everyone, and keep tuning and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ekalavya's YouTube channel. Thank you to our behind the scenes gentlemen, Tushar Patel, Gopal from Ekalavya's, and Animesh, who's our video editor. So thank you very much, everyone, and be sure to tune in next Thursday, 7 p.m. India time.
We'll see y'all there. Giannis is the MVP.
No, LeBron! It's going to be LeBron!